All right, today is May 16th, 2019, and this is a reading for Rain Dance, and we are going to look at these handprints. So what is so cool about the hands, what drew me into hand analysis, is that not only am I looking at your line formations and your hand shape, I'm also looking at your fingerprints, and your fingerprints contain your soul psychology, which is your life purpose, your life lesson, and the overall theme, or the school of your life. We call it the school. Like, this is Earth University, or this is where you came to evolve, to really work on stuff, to learn something. Like, your life purpose is kind of what you came here to be and to do, and it's a state of consciousness that your soul craves to inhabit. So it's like, if you're a swimmer, this is like your strongest stroke. It's like, if you're like best at freestyle, then that is your life purpose. And then your life lesson is the part of you that you came here to work on. So like your weakest stroke. And you only can really step up in your life purpose until you address your life lesson. And then the overall theme of your life is non-circumstantial. So that means it doesn't matter if who you're with or where you're with, it's always going to show up, kind of a thing. So that's a cool part. And then so, yeah, you have some very interesting prints. I think I'm going to start with your hand shape. The hand shape is kind of like the outline of who you are, and it's like your personality, which is, like people's hand shapes and lines can change, but the fingerprints never change. Do you know that? So it's like this, yeah, so this is like your personality, and personality is somewhat changeable. And then the life purpose, the soul psychology, is always there. It's never going to change. So even identical twins have different fingerprints. You can be identified with one fingerprint. So that's how personal it is for you. So the overall hand shape that you have, it's both air and water. This one actually is air and earth. So what we call this is called loyal soldier. So you think of like the air aspect of the hand. It's like the thinking, the critical thinking, the analyzing, the logistical part, and then the earth part of the hand, which is like the person that likes to work with their hands. They like to do stuff. They like to get results. So when you kind of combine that, it's loyal soldier. So because you have more earth in your hands, so the tendency is this type of hand shape likes to work with their hands. They're kind of like the precise craftsman. They tend to have like a more conservative approach, and then the thing is they'll have like their Harley in the basement or something that's like, kind of puts them more, I guess kind of incorporates their opposite, So like the loyal soldier, they'll drive like, like the Volvo or a truck or something like, kind of conservative, something practical. And then they'll have something, that they can, like a Harley or something in the basement where they can really kind of let loose. But the loyal soldier, they tend to, actually show things by doing things for other people. So, like I wrote down, like, they tend to like mow the lawn or wash their truck, so their family will be proud. They actually don't like reality TV because they kind of need the structure and the hierarchy of like practical, kind of having like parameters. So the opposite of your type is going to be the soap opera, and this is like the water fire person. Okay, because
can't stand that stuff.
Well, it's your opposite. And here's the thing is, loyal soldiers, they tend to be drama free, or they tend to not like drama. But to make their lives more interesting, they will attract people that tend to be more dramatic. Okay, and that's to balance you out, right? When you're in relationship with someone, you're gonna find your opposite, okay? And they say, if you can go 6% in their direction and they can come 6% in your direction, that's kind of like a good meeting ground, because you want to, you need that opposite, that kind of it's like incorporating chaos into your very stable kind of structured lifestyle. Okay.
I get something out of it.
Yeah. So, because it can be very conservative. It could be like living too much inside the box. Where's the emotion? Where's the excitement? So, they'll attract relationships that are crazy and dramatic in order to spice things up and mess things up. So that is part of what happens. Because you're not going to grow emotionally, spiritually, if you don't incorporate your opposite, right? Your opposite is the person that's is the type, the archetype that's going to teach you about yourself. If you just hang out with your type, everything's just going to go fine. It's just going to, but it's when you're pushed over the boundary, you're pushed over the edge, and then you're like, oh crap, what am I supposed to do? It kind of pushes you past your boundaries, so you wouldn't normally go there, outside your comfort zone. So yeah, you guys are supposed to lead a conservative lifestyle, but at the same time, you have the Harley in the basement. They say you're supposed to once a year, you're supposed to slam a door and not tell anyone where you're going. So it's kind of like, usually you're very structured. You'll like tell people, oh, I'm going here right now, or I'm doing this, or I'm going to go hang out with some friends. And they usually don't like drama, but once a year, it's okay. You got to slam that door and you got to just leave without telling anyone where you're going. So it's kind of like a balancing kind of thing. Okay, so that's kind of like the hand shape. I think I kind of want to go towards kind of like the overall theme of your life. So I just talked about like personality psychology, and now I'm going to talk about soul psychology. So I'm going to kind of go back and forth, okay? So remember, personality is kind of like the vehicle from which your soul psychology kind of goes forth, right? So I'm going to talk about the overall theme, the school of your life. You have a lot of interesting fingerprints, by the way. A lot of fingerprints that are kind of were kind of harder to identify. So in right hand, you have a loop, and then tenon arch, lower ranking loop. So basically, the school is School of Courage. Oh yeah, School of Courage. And also, there's lots of chia seeds in it. So try to make sure you like it. It's really
I like weird stuff.
Okay, yeah. It's basically like slime.
It's nothing compared to cactus juice. Ever tried juicing prickly pear pads?
I haven't.
It's like blended slugs.
Wow. Okay. This is chia seeds. There's lots of chia seeds in here.
There's nothing compared to that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to try that sometime just to compare.
I don't recommend it.
Okay. So the overall theme of your life, School of Courage and School of Wisdom. So I'm going to kind of talk about each one. So School of Wisdom is all about kind of going from evaluation to action. So it's like, yeah, you can learn about something and absorb all the information you need to learn, take a class, read a book, study with someone, but until you actually like put yourself out there in the world and actually like put yourself at stake, like jump off that diving board, then you're not really gonna gain experience. So the advanced School of Wisdom person is able to jump off of life's diving boards. And life's diving boards is like, it could be like changing jobs or asking the girl on a date, asking for a raise, moving to a different part of the world. Some of these decisions can be very kind of life endangering. Like sometimes the thing is either on one end you will stay stuck to that diving board and not move, not jump. You'll be paralyzed. And on the other end, you'll just be jumping off of diving boards left and right without really thinking. So some people are like, oh, well, I do all sorts of like scuba diving and like surfing these really high waves and stuff and skydiving, but it's really has to do with emotional risk. That's where you're going to get a lot of these meaning and fulfillment points. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's like you have to kind of go from evaluation to action. Action is the main thing here.
Yes.
And then School of Peace has to do with finding peace in your body. So, going from, so that life is not just a bunch of emergencies, but making time for play, making time to be safe, feeling safe in your body. On one end of the spectrum, so like in School of Wisdom, it's like you have like, you're stuck on the diving board, and on the other end, you're just jumping off a diving board. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll jump, I'll go bungee jumping, I'll go skydiving. And the other end, it was like, no, I'm not going to do anything, I'm not going to ask for a raise, I'm not going to do anything. So School of Peace on one end is like Mr. Sticks and Plates, and it's like balancing like 14 things at once. And like doing a million things and like trying to like, so it's like the adrenaline junkie is on one end. And on the other spectrum, it's like the people that are like so checked out, that are like, oh, my daughter was abducted by aliens. And you're like, oh, that's nice, whatever. So the people that tend to be on this end tend to be addicted more to like drugs and alcohol. And on this end, they tend to be adrenaline junkies. So to find that middle ground of feeling safe in your body. And so when I combine both of those, wisdom gained by jumping off of life's diving boards brings inner peace. And then, that's on the good side. And then procrastination, this is on the, so there's good news and bad news. It's never like one or the other, but, on bad news, it's like procrastination leads to problems, which leads to more procrastination. So it's like not doing anything and like never jumping off of that life's diving board. And that life's diving board could represent anything. It could be like a job, a career, a date, or a relationship, or moving, or, if you think about any decision that you've had to make, it revolves around decisions usually. So, so trying to keep the melodrama under control. This is another thing. They'll try to keep melodrama under control by distancing themselves from close relationships. And like, I don't know if you ever saw Brokeback Mountain.
Don't think so.
Okay, so that's some...
clips.
What's that?
Maybe clips of it.
Okay, because that's the movie that might be good for you to kind of see. This is kind of like the school that you're in. So Enos in Brokeback Mountain, like, distances himself from everyone. Yeah. And he kind of becomes a hermit. And then the other theme that I put in here is Let Someone Love You Before It's Too Late. That's a song by the Eagles. And it's basically sometimes the tendency is to distance yourself so that others can't get close to you. So that's going to be the overall theme of your life. School of Courage, it's called. So, so, you can think of it like running the gamut of courage, from being coward in relationship, out in the world, with your parents, with yourself, with God, with the universe, to being, the hero or the courageous person in all aspects. So it's kind of like running the gamut of what courage is. Yeah, and you're supposed to experience all of that. You're supposed to experience the whole gamut of like, coward to courage. Yeah, so that's kind of, this is a tricky school that you're in. It's not a common one. I know one other person that's in the school. Okay, so I'm going to go back to personality psychology. So you have like an Apollo ring right here. So Apollo rings are kind of interesting. They're kind of like, depending on what finger they are on, it kind of represents different things. But the ring can represent, it's kind of like a noose. It's kind of like a stranglehold. And left Apollo has to do with, hello. We're just doing hand analysis reading. Yeah. So left Apollo ring, it can show up as kind of like a straight hold on, or like a noose kind of around feeling like you don't fit in, or feel different, or feel kind of hampered by displaying your personality, just because it's on the left Apollo finger. It can also show up as, because it's kind of like what do you call it?
Straight jacket? Straight
jacket, yeah, kind of like keeping you in. And left Apollo is kind of like the innovator, kind of like the, it's kind of holding you in so you don't feel like you can fully express yourself. It's more of just like feeling different, feeling kind of like the lone wolf or something like that. Okay, we're going to talk about your life purpose. So, it's funny, I didn't write your life purpose on here for some reason. I got carried away because there's so many other interesting things in your hand. But you have right and left thumb.
Really?
Great
news.
So what that means is thumbs are all about getting stuff done in the world.
It's the money makers right here.
It is. It's going from idea to its completion, getting stuff under your thumb, getting results. Results is like your keyword. Building 3 feet of fence today and 3 feet of fence tomorrow. Planting the garden, planting 10 plants today and 10 plants tomorrow. Seeing something go through into completion. And there's a lot of challenges with that, it's, and there's a lot of, things that can make it easy. I mean, in general, you have earth and air hands, so it's kind of like you have this kind of precise craftsmanship about your hand, and so that kind of feeds to the doingness of wanting to create tangible, measurable results. And it's not so much that you need to be doing something, but it's the consciousness that you inhabit when you're doing something, that you're like, oh, I'm getting something done. I'm getting something under my thumb. I'm doing something. I'm creating something, and I'm seeing it fully to its full completion, from conception idea to its full realization in the world. So seeing like a seed of something grow into a fully grown plant.
Mm-hmm. Turning thought into form.
Yes, there you go. Exactly, thought into form. Challenges.
Big deal.
Yeah, working with people that may be sabotaging you, or you get so close to a goal and something happens and you give up. But wherever there are results in the game, that's going to be a big point for you. Yeah, the thumb is all about doing. Success in the world. Do you want more? Alright, so you have these lines right here. And it's kind of what we call a line of Sisyphus. You know the Sisyphus story? Line of Sisyphus? So, a line of Sisyphus is kind of, it could show up as all head, no heart, but I kind of see it as like where you're kind of it can show up as where you're putting too much attention on your partner instead of yourself. So it's kind of like
Yep.
monitoring your partner so that you know you're kind of guessing their every whim, desire, and move in order to kind of be one step ahead in caring for them or pleasing them. So basically, it's like you want to know everything about that person and what to do to please them. So it's like being too much in the head, kind of analyzing too much. Like, okay, how can I be one step ahead of them so that I know exactly how to take care of them, how to please them, how to make sure that I'm meeting all their needs, meeting all their desires. So it's like paying too much attention to the maintenance of the relationship instead of focusing on yourself in the relationship. So I wrote down, when you first get into a relationship with a brand new partner, so it's like you're kind of like enmeshed. You're kind of in this bubble, right? It's kind of like, and then like after 90 days you start to separate, right? And, kind of be more independent. Well, the line of Sisyphus, because you have two lines of Sisyphus, it's like it starts to panic because once you start to break apart, it's like you won't know what's going on with your partner. You're not going to be, dialed in and, knowing their every desire, whim. You're not going to be able to kind of be that person that's there to kind of, please them. It could show up as, needing to know all the CDs, all the music, all the healing modalities they're into in order to be able to talk to them proficiently about it, or, whatever it is, you feeling like you have to kind of be one step ahead of them in kind of monitoring them, knowing everything about them, maybe stalking their Facebook page to know exactly what they do so that you can kind of prepare yourself. So it's just, a line of Sisyphus is just like, it can be too much in the head about relationships. Any sort of horizontal line in the hand, it's kind of like blocks the energy, whereas, what did I say? Yeah. Horizontal lines kind of block the energy, whereas vertical lines tend to help the energy. So, what do you do about this? And I said, you basically talk to your partner and say like, oh, do you experience me being this way? Where I feel like I'm always monitoring you and trying to please you and always trying to be one step ahead of you and making sure I take care of all your desires and stuff. Are you bending over backwards for them? Are you sacrificing your own self-care in order to take care of them and to please them? So this kind of combined with the loyal soldier hand-shaped type tends to put other people ahead of them, right? So you already kind of have that tendency. So with the line of Sisyphus, it's like even more. It's like a double whammy of where you'll tend to kind of put the relationship partner much ahead of yourself, and in a way kind of not pay attention to your own desires, needs, and wants. But once you become aware of it and you can kind of track yourself, it's like, oh, I see what I'm doing. It doesn't have to have that unconscious control that was having over your life. Because that's a tricky marker, line of Sisyphus. When I see it, it's like, okay, this person is probably, really sacrificing themselves in relationships. So another thing about, the loyal soldier is you guys tend to be very responsible, keep your word, and sometimes you need that kind of a way to kind of escape, right? So there's kind of like, you kind of have, it's almost like a line of clairvoyance on both of these hands, but it's not quite a line of clairvoyance. Right now, I'm calling it a via lascivia, and it's actually a line of escape. So it is a talent marker. It's a line of escape where you have to escape mentally, physically, or spiritually, and it has to do with like a curiosity or exploration, kind of that's not part of your mundane life. That's like somewhere else. So this could be, finding healthy outlets such as studying higher realms of consciousness, drugs, alcohol, seeing things that people don't normally see. So it is a talent marker. It is not a gift marker. It's a talent marker. So you're able to see things. You're able to experience things that normal people wouldn't normally be able to go. But it's like about finding like a healthy outlet for this exploration. So drugs is one way. Alcohol is another way. Higher realms of consciousness. Vision journeys, meditation.
I heard a knock.
What's that?
I heard a knock.
Oh, okay. You want to go check the door? So, yeah. So this Via Lascivia is a line of escape, but it's like you kind of need it. Everything about the loyal soldier hand shape is about can kind of box you in and can kind of keep you so that you feel like you have to kind of operate within a certain structure or hierarchy or, kind of set of rules. So this Via Lascivia line of escape, being able to kind of mentally, physically, or spiritually go somewhere else and access that higher realm, through those, meditation, exploring stuff that's outside of the mundane, and because you're able to see things that other people cannot. So, okay. So another thing is like this kind of line of this Via Lascivia is kind of blocking off the moon area. So when we think of like lines in the hands, we think of like energy funnels. And so there's actually no lines that are kind of in the moon area, so we call it a tundra moon. So it basically, it could show up as, it doesn't mean you're doing this or doing that, but it can show up as not dealing with certain psychological issues. That, if you did kind of cultivate your spirit with universe or God, it would help this, because it's a little bit it's like a droopy moon, we'd call it in hand analysis. So it's like not having a strong connection with that, with spirit, in a confident way. So having some sort of outlet. You also have a pretty impressive star, Mars star. And Mars stars are all about advocacy, courage, bravery, kind of saving the damsel in distress, fighting the dragons and stuff like that. So it's like a bravery, courage thing. And I know you are very advocate about plants and species and certain things, right? Your advocacy is about plants.
I'm devoted to.
Yes. Devoted to conserving what's the word I'm looking for? Plants that are when a species is dying off. Endangered, yeah. I was like not exotic, endangered. So because the moon area is tundra, it's like, and because of the Via Lascivia, part of me wants to think like you are meant to do this bravery, courage, advocacy, but in a way that's also going to be around working with people. Because the star is humongous, so it's like there's this huge need to have this advocacy and courage. And because you're in your hands, you're school of courage, right? You're going to be experiencing the whole spectrum, coward to hero, the whole spectrum of courage, what courage means in all aspects of your life. And so because of the Via Lascivia, it's like that could be a line of escape, so that you're, working with plants is one thing, but I think it's such a big marker in your hand that I'm kind of wondering if the plants should be secondary to working with humans or some sort of spiritual cause. That's just my guess. I can't really say, but that's what I'm combining those three markers. The heart line. So You have a Clint heart line, and it's kind of going into a D fork on both of the hands. And there's some fraying, so it's kind of like a heart, we'll call it a heart giveaway. And that's, combined with the loyal soldier, it can show up as, more power giveaway to the partner. It's like, honey, what do you want? No, what do you want? No, what do you want? So, I think of this like the fraying of the heart line is a bunch of D forks. D forks are all about are kind of power giveaways. Putting the needs of others in front of the needs of yourself. Because you're meant to be a Clint. The Clint heart line is supposed to be more about yourself. It's supposed to be the hero, the stoic. We call it the Clint Eastwood heart line because, it's the bravery. You have your important man mission that goes ahead of relationships. But it's actually going into a Michael heart line. The Michael heart line is the, thinking about how you feel, how do I feel, how do you feel, how do you feel? It's like the over process, What do you want to do? No, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? So it tends to kind of get stuck on the replay button, and they tend to kind of over process and think about how they feel, and it just never ends. So that's when I usually see that, I'm like, okay, just be careful of that because that's a huge power giveaway. And then when I combine that with, I haven't even talked about your life lesson yet, have I? Combined with the school or the theme of your life, school of courage, are you hiding out, or are you jumping off of the life diving boards in order to kind of gain experience and finding that inner peace? You do have a Jupiter mate selector though. So whenever you have a certain type of mate selectors, it kind of shows up off of the heart line. So it's like attraction to a mate who has a lot of power. Someone that kind of calls the shots, someone that's, in their throne. You tend to be attracted to partners that are really owning their power. Is that?
Just like, come on.
Okay.
She's unstoppable.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, this is stuff just that you're more aware you are, the more it's going to help you.
Oh no, it's great. It's all so great.
So can you kind of see where that could be a little bit tricky, though, if you're attracted to someone who's very much in power, and then it could kind of, pleasing them, doing everything to kind of put their needs first, ignoring your own needs. That can tend to be what happens when there's this sort of dynamic going on. I'm going to talk about your life lesson. I can't believe I skipped that. So like I talked about life purpose, doer, achiever, results in the world. Life lesson is what you came here to work on. So yours is a combination of left Saturn and right Jupiter. So this is kind of the power. And this is has to do with integrity. So power without apology. Or, basically I wrote, I can't be powerful because then I will feel guilty. That's one end of the spectrum. And the other end is I'm a bully without appropriate guilt. So it doesn't say where you are in the spectrum, but it says that's the spectrum that you tend to go on. Like on one end, so it's challenged to do what you want because you're going to have these guilty feelings. That cause you to agree to things that you normally wouldn't want to agree to or wouldn't want to do. And there's also the fear of someone being upset at you and afraid of feeling guilty about it. So basically selling off your independence to ward off these guilty feelings. So the story is Alana and Richard are married, and Richard turns on some music and he's like, oh, but Alana doesn't like Frank Sinatra, and what if I open the window and she doesn't want the air, and what if I do this and she won't like that, and it just goes on and on and on. So it has to do with, power. Most of the time when I see this on people, it's they're using too little power. Okay, they're kind of letting people impose their agendas on them. So there's too much of the apology and not enough of the power part. Okay, the other extreme is like when they're asserting too much power, they're bullies. But it could go from one to the other. It's like bullying without appropriate guilt, or without conscious restraint. So using too much power, using too little power. But it's called power without apology. So when I combine life lesson, with the D-forks, with the heartline, it's like, it could totally show up as, pleasing the other person. What can I do to make this person happy? And then combine with the lines of Sisyphus, being one step ahead of your partner in order to kind of be on top of all the things in order to please them and to make them happy. Let's see. Yeah, so, this is another thing. So you do have another gift marker, healing stigmata. And this is, healing stigmata is kind of a gift marker, so it kind of shows up under the Mercury finger. Gifted healer, being able to kind of offer psychological insult, thinking about what is your own wound that you have, and can it be a specialty? Can you use it to help others? So, I would say because you have the Mars star plus the healing stigmata, it's like, what can you do to advocate for people who may be, wounded or have something? Because this is a gift marker. Gift markers need to be used. Otherwise, there's a penalty. And this has to do with intimacy breakdown, blocked intimacy if you don't use it. So if you're not helping other people, it can show up as relationships are not working. So yeah, how can you be a growth consultant, a psychological insider in, providing psychological insight, and helping people with whatever wound that you have. And, it could very much well be related to your life lesson stuff. And, the power giveaway stuff. So yeah, let me kind of wrap everything up. So, in general, loyal soldiers, you guys tend to be more on the conservative side. You tend to like the structure and the hierarchy, and you will attract people that are more dramatic in order to bring more excitement into your life and to mess things up. That's part of what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to incorporate your opposite. But having a healthy outlet, something, you have your via lascivia, so being able to have some sort of escape emotionally, physically, spiritually, where you can go off into a different realm of consciousness. This could include meditation, drugs, other stuff, to kind of get out of the conservative lifestyle and to not feel like you're kind of being boxed in. And then the challenge, with the school that you're in, School of Courage, is, can you go and, can you go from evaluation to action and then find the inner peace by doing that, by putting yourself out there in the world, by putting yourself out at stake? Can you find that inner peace? Because otherwise, procrastination. I'm going to do it. I'll do it next year, I'll do it in 10 years, or I'll do it, when I feel like it, so it just you'll tend to put stuff off and not take risks. Mm-hmm. And especially relationships. So remember that song I told you about? You better let someone love you before it's too late. And you need to see Brokeback Mountain, because Enos, the guy, isolates himself from everyone. He just doesn't want to let anyone get close to him. So,
Is that Heath Ledger?
yeah. Have you seen the movie? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's part of your school. So you need to watch that movie for your homework to kind of see the dynamic of that's the overall theme of your life. Yeah, so, let someone love you before it's too late, and then Enos from Brokeback Mountain.
Brokeback Mountain's my life.
Brokeback? Well, it's more of like what he was struggling with as a character in this movie. And so you're meant to kind of, experience the whole gamut of courage, from coward in relationships, in your family, in the world, with yourself, with God, Creator, to courage, being the hero in all aspects of your life. But you have to kind of experience that whole gamut. That's what you came here to learn about. And, the line of Sisyphus, can you be aware of where you'll tend to put the partner ahead, be like monitoring them every step of the way so that you can, you're kind of guessing their every whim, desire, and move in order to kind of fulfill it. You're trying to be the perfect person for them, and you don't really, that's unhealthy. You can, see if you can step back and ask your partner, do you see me like this in relationship? And then by naming it, it's less likely to have control over you. And so, the tundra moon, cultivating a stronger relationship with the spiritual aspect. And I think the tundra moon and the star of Mars star are very directly related. And because, it's like advocacy, bravery, courage with people because of the healing stigmata. Yeah, helping people, being a psychological insight person. So how can you use that to advocate for people? But I think that, the Via Lascivia, I think plants is part of the picture, but I think it needs to be with humans because of the medical stigmata, the gifted healer marker. And when you don't work on that, then it's going to show up as intimacy breakdown, or blocked intimacy. So yeah, kind of putting it all together. And then life purpose, doer, achiever, results in the world, conception, idea to fully completion. What was it that you said? You said it was thought into form. Thought into form, yeah. That is like your mantra, thought to form. But yeah, I think the general thing is like, where can you allow yourself to, your tendency is going to be to focus on your partner in a relationship and to, be attracted to someone that's very powerful, someone that knows what they want, because it's easier to live someone else's life movie if, you don't know what you want. It's easier to cling to someone that has their shit together and they know what they want. They know what they want to eat. They know what they want to do with their life. It's easier to kind of fall into that. Like, oh, that's attractive. I want to do that. And then in a way, it's kind of keeping you from figuring out what it is that you want and taking care of your own self, thinking about your own needs, your own desires, and putting yourself first. So that is your reading. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm just interested in the kind of the school of understanding.
And it's a process. It's not going to happen like you're going to figure this all out in a year. If you work on your life lesson, you're going to go to the next level of your life lesson. It's just going to keep going. You're going to go to the next layer, the next level, deeper down that, opening up that consciousness about your life lesson and your life purpose and the school and everything. So, and sometimes markers disappear. There was one person that had a love at first sight marker, and when she actually realized it and started tracking it in her life, it actually disappeared.
That's in the palm.
And it's in the palm, yeah. So fingerprints are going to stay the same, but lines can always change. So, if you got a reading, later on, you never know. Stuff does change in the hands. So, Yeah. Anything else? Good?
Oh, sweet.
Okay, we'll call that a reading.